3 small words that became his mighty mantra over decades in school leadership have multiplied exponentially into friends beyond measure for retiring Hurffville Elementary School principal Jeff Pollock. Be a friend. Pollock departs on July 31st, 2020 after 38 years in education. For 31 years as an administrator, including 20 as principal in Washington Township, 12 years at Thomas Jefferson, and 8 years at Hurffville, Pollock has coaxed and cajoled children, well, if we are being honest, mandated that kids and adults under his purview be a friend.
I was at a principal's conference in San Francisco, and part of the conference was you could tour other buildings in the area that you were in. So, and every time I went to one of these conferences, I would do that. I would make an effort to go see other schools. And one of the schools I walked into in San Francisco, on the wall was printed, "Be a friend." And I said, wow, that's powerful. That if every child could just take the moment and look at someone else and say, you know what, I can treat them as a friend. That doesn't mean they have to be their best friends. I've always told them that. And not everybody gets along to be a best friend, but just to treat someone as a friend. And so, because you never know where anybody comes from or what kind of struggles they're having. And so I took that and I ran with it. And every school I've been in, Thomas Jefferson School and now at Hurffville, I've always made it our number one rule. I always made the number one rule of all of our rules to be a friend. Our bus rules, number one rule, be a friend. Our cafeteria rules, be a friend's number one rule. Playground rule, number one rule, be a friend. So you ask any kid who has ever had in contact with me in Thomas Jefferson School or Hurffville School, that you ask them what my number one rule is, and I'm going to tell you, they will tell you it's to be a friend. It's a mantra that we put into these kids' heads since the day I walked into this district.
Pollock may have borrowed the mantra, but the sentiment behind it has always been part of his DNA. Perhaps because he started school so young, at only 4.5 in kindergarten, struggled in reading, and truly was challenged as a young learner, Pollock knew by middle school that he wanted to be a teacher.
I went into elementary education because I enjoyed the teaching of, I enjoyed learning how to read. I struggled as a reader in elementary school. I was only 4.5 when I started elementary school, and I didn't turn 5 till December. So I was really a young student, so I struggled in elementary school. People have asked me, why did you become an elementary teacher? Why did you have an elementary mentor? And I didn't. I struggled in elementary school. It was a major struggle for me. And I think I went into elementary education because it was a struggle. And I wanted to make sure that I could help other kids who didn't, help them not struggle. And I've tried to do that throughout my career. I've always looked out for the underdog. I've always tried to challenge the gifted kid, but my heart was always with the underdog and trying to help that underdog along. Those students who struggled, who still struggle today, and try to help them not struggle. And what can we do to help them through that process? I want them to feel as though it's a welcoming place, that it's a happy place, that the kids are polite and they're smiling and they're laughing. I never want a child to leave school with a sad face. I always want them to leave with a happy face. I try my best every day to be out at the buses and to make sure that every child is leaving here laughing and giggling and smiling. There's too much, and even with the pandemic, but even before the pandemic, there's too many issues in the world that could affect kids. And I never want them to leave this school feeling sad. And I want them to be able to say they had a good day.
Most of Jeff Pollock's days have been good ones because of this mindset and his style. Not as a top-down leader, but as a facilitator and collaborator who didn't shy away from difficult decisions and who made them always with the best interest of children's safety and well-being at heart. That was true from the start as a 4th grade teacher at John Glenn School in Pine Hill, New Jersey, to his time as assistant principal of 400 students at the Hess Educational Complex in Mays Landing, New Jersey, where he helped open a new facility complete with an Olympic-sized swimming pool, 2 cafeterias, and a 900-seat auditorium. That New Jersey Star School and nationally recognized Blue Ribbon School of Excellence grew from a total of 1,300 students to 1,800 students 7 years later when Pollock became the acting principal. From there, Pollock moved to be closer to his family, including his then 2-year-old son, to take his first principal's job as the head of a pre-K through 6th grade building, James A. Garfield School in Collingswood, New Jersey, where he oversaw federal programs. When one principal left, Pollock took on leadership of an additional building, Zane North School, for a short time, while also overseeing elementary curriculum and serving as a testing coordinator. Pollock admittedly wasn't looking to leave Collingswood, but when searching for his son's snack menu at Grenlock Terrace Early Childhood Center, he came across a posting for a principal position in Washington Township, a place he has called home since he was 15 years old. He applied and was appointed to the post in August of 2000.
My son was going into 1st grade when I started TJ, and he was at Bell School. And I was at TJ school, and then when he graduated from high school, the following week, the superintendent asked me to move to Hurffville School. The different positions I've had have given me insight on different issues and different ways of doing things. There's many times that when I make a decision, or things that we're doing, I always think back and I say to myself, what would this mentor of mine have done? What would this mentor of mine have done? One mentor that I look to in my head a lot is Sharon Reardon, who was my mentor at the Hess School in Mays Landing. But I still look to Jim Bathurst, who was the superintendent in Collingswood. And I think about some of the things that he told me, what some of the things he had guided me in as I was principal in Collingswood. I look back to the superintendents and the principals I worked with when I taught, and what I would do that. What would they have done? What would Charles Ivory, who was the superintendent in Pine Hill, have done when he hired me? He's the one who hired me for my first job. What would he have done? And so I still look to those people today, and I still am in contact with many of them. Many of the administrators that I worked with in the past, I'm still in contact with today. And there's times that I still call on them. I say, "What would you do in this situation? What's your thoughts?" And they call on me.
And so Pollock has come full circle, a circle that has swelled with so many friends, colleagues and coworkers, administrators and teachers, many of whom he hired and started on their own educational journeys, and mostly students, present and past, a circle from whom he learned so much, and an even larger circle who have gained from knowing him.
It's really hard for me right now. I don't get to say goodbye. I don't get to see their faces. Their parents have been posting things on Facebook, and that's given me a smile. I'm watching the kids right now do a push-up challenge, and that makes me smile. Everything that they do, they make me laugh, and they have touched my heart. The kids in Washington Township have really grabbed my heart. I've done my best, and I hope that I've left an impact on kids. But the hardest part is leaving them without saying goodbye. I feel like I'm leaving on top of my game, that I've made an impact on the district. I've worked with some really good people in Washington Township. I've worked with Tom Fleming. I've worked with Joe Vandenberg, Bobby Marciano, Peg Meehan. Peg Meehan right now has been talking in my head for the past couple of days about different decisions I've had to make recently, and she had an impact on me. All these people that you've worked with that have now left, that I think fondly of, and I'm hoping that people will think that way of me too when I leave. That what would Jeff have done? How would Jeff have handled this? And knowing that I'm still around, that they can still reach out to me. But I've shared a lot with the elementary principals. I'm going to miss them. I'm going to miss Gretchen Gerber, who's become a dear friend of mine. Annette Miller, who is a dear friend of mine. We worked together for many years. Annette and I, as she was principal at Birch's School, and Gretchen, and when she was a supervisor, and then moved up to be a principal at Bell School, and then becoming my supervisor. They're dear friends. I'm going to miss all of them. I want to thank the people of Washington Township for allowing me to be the principal of their elementary schools. It's been an honor, and it's time now for me to let go and go to join my family and enjoy the life I have. I don't have any regrets.
He does, however, have one wish for the future.
3-4 years from now, that when they're making a decision, they're saying, what would Jeff have done? What would he have done, and how would he have done? How would...
The answer, first and foremost, to any such question, Jeff Pollock would have said, be a friend.
What is the number one rule?
Number one rule? Be afraid. Number one rule? Be afraid.